So this is Phil from the DFW airport. Phil, you said you also responded to our Facebook post, so that's awesome.
No, I was in a channel with Pretty Boy next to you.
Oh, okay, even better. So.
Yeah. So, and by that I mean Drew.
Yeah.
And so basically, I've been listening to a lot of interesting things, trying to figure out what to come up with to say.
Mm-hmm.
And sorry to hear an airport announcement, but basically, should, and I don't know if you guys have talked about this yet, should beliefs be respected? And that's something that in my community, the hacker community, we're kind of dealing with right now. We had an incident over at Hope Conference that in New York City, where someone was wearing a Make America Great Again hat. And not only were they wearing the hat, which, okay, it's a hat, let's not get upset, folks. They were in a Chelsea Manning talk. And those who don't know Chelsea Manning is, she's a transgendered woman who, to me, was a big hero and leaked a lot of information that needed to come forth about how we were doing the war in Iraq and all that stuff. And how we were mistreating people and a lot of human rights abuse was going on. So she did a lot of great stuff, but, they started saying some very terrible things to her in the middle of her talk. And then the MAGA hats were just basically this kind of red herring that was thrown about. But what really comes down to is then the conversation starts up with, well, these snowflakes need to respect other people's beliefs. And the thing is should beliefs be respected? Mm-hmm. I have a thought on that. What do you guys think?
I'll go ahead and start. I think you're right in that wearing a MAGA hat at an event, that's just trolling, right? Like I've grown up on the internet. I've seen an image board or two. I know what trolling looks like, I know when people are trying to get a rise out of people. So I don't think that by itself should really use anybody's time to consider issues like that. I think the more important issue, kind of what you addressed, is the kind of harassment we might see when people are giving talks and things like that, and that's a really interesting. Somebody's arriving at your airport. That's cool.
Yeah, I cover up my microphone for you.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. That's the more interesting topic of discussion. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I have all the answers to that question, because I don't. But I will say that there is a difference between respecting a person and respecting an idea. And I think that's the first distinction you have to make when doing anything. Is it good to punch a Nazi? I don't know. But
I'm kind of on the border on that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's weird because you don't want to set a precedent for harm, because that's what we were talking about with Charlottesville, right? I mean, that's what happened.
Right.
People were given a platform, and then, violence happened because of that.
Right.
So how do we?
But then the whole idea is, beliefs inform actions, and do you want to wait until another Hitler comes up to power? You have to wait for the Jews to be marched off into gas chambers to actually act on it. And I don't think, like you said, punching a Nazi may not be the equal and necessary force to take care of that. But, basically this idea of, hey, we just have different beliefs, and that's what the MAGA hat is representing. Because there's a lot of people who are not racist, like hardcore Nazi racists, who believe in the whole Make America Great Again thing.
Yeah.
And so all they're seeing when they see that news announcement, they're saying, oh, wow, someone just kicked me out of a conference, or someone,
Right, it's a free speech issue.
Hey, these are political beliefs,
Yeah.
And I call BS on that because people are hiding behind, well, these are political beliefs. I'm sorry, separating children from parents at the border is not a political belief. That's a moral decision.
Well, let's take a more recent example. I'm sure you've heard about Alex Jones, getting deplatformed from Facebook, Spotify, all kinds of stuff. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. Here's my honest opinion. When I first heard that, I thought, good. I really did. I don't know if that makes me super left or not, because I've never felt that way about people being deplatformed before. Honestly, the precedent that has been set for those kinds of things has bothered me in the past. For some reason, it didn't bother me with Alex Jones. I don't know why. I guess because I really don't like the guy. But
He doesn't like chemicals put in the water that make the frickin' frogs.
Yeah.
But the problem here, and I'll tell you probably what you're feeling there.
Yeah.
Alex Jones.
I want to hear what you say, and then let's let Drew talk too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Alex Jones is not someone who just spews off some beliefs. He is actually speaking on matters of fact, and some of the lawsuits he's actually going through on defamation. He once accused some journalist who was taking actually video of the Charlottesville attack, and he said this person was a CIA actor or plant.
Yeah.
So now this person is being defamed. This person is being hurt. That's not free speech. This person is grossly misrepresenting matters of fact, spreading disinformation, not parody, disinformation in order to disrupt the masses and affect beliefs. I mean, Russia did the same thing in the elections, and I know that's kind of going off a different topic, but those types of tools are out there, and at some point it comes back to what do we care about? How do we come to proper beliefs in things? We need good facts. We need good sources of information. And when you have people like that out there that are just blatantly putting people and saying these people are this and they've done this and this when that's not the fact, that's not protected speech.
Yeah.
That's not protected speech in my book.
Let's hear it from you, Drew. What do you think about this?
So, with the Alex Jones thing, I'll just say something on that quickly, and then I'll say some other things I had to say. So, Alex Jones is someone who also sells supplements. And, sounds like we got another announcement there. So, Alex Jones, he sells supplements. Basically, he's giving medical advice. He's skirting around the law, getting around things that the FTC and the FDA do and don't allow by using vague terms, and then in completely separate segments talking about why we have to take these certain supplements so that we don't turn gay or something like that. And then in a totally different segment, so that it's legal, selling supplements that will keep you from turning gay, basically. So all that stuff would be illegal if it was paired together, but it's legal because of technicalities. And so I'm for cracking down legally on some of the things that people are abusing in the law, people abusing all the loopholes and technicalities, because people can sell supplements as medicine without breaking the law. People do it all the time. And I mean, I know people who do it like every single day for their jobs, basically. And so, also it was a private company. They're all private companies that decided to do this to Alex Jones. And so I wouldn't object to this as much as I would object to people just generally being taken down because they're right wing, or because they're far left, or because they call themselves a communist, or they call themselves a fascist or something like that. I'd have to research into this a little bit more and see exactly all the minutia of it before I could actually do it for sure. But I'll go ahead and get into my other thing. In making this decision about whether or not we should respect beliefs, I think that we should look at what does it look like? How does it inform our actions if we do not, in principle, do not respect beliefs but only respect people, or we respect people and we respect beliefs, or we respect beliefs but we don't respect people? Basically, you have to kind of make a hypothetical in your mind, try out each one of those. How would adopting each one of those positions actually change the way that you act and the way that you treat people? What are the practical outcomes? I'm all for actually measuring the consequences and making moral decisions. And this is basically a moral decision. And so that's my piece on it. Try to make it as measurable as possible.
And I want to add here too, before I'll let you talk, Phil, just a sec, but I just want to add, Drew and I would both a few years ago have identified on the right. So it's not like that we're not.
Me too.
Yeah, so it's not like that we don't understand or that we don't know where that's coming from, at least to a certain degree, when a lot of these kinds of talking points that we hear, just because that we may lean on another side politically. We're trying to establish a method of discerning true things through the most objective means possible, and it's not because we want to suit our own means at all. We're trying to, do our own thing. But yeah, go ahead, Phil.
Right. And so, you have obviously, politics versus beliefs. We can go back to the wedding cake baker who wouldn't bake a cake for a gay couple. We could go into the whole thing about, there was no message he even talked about. But here's the thing that was interesting about that case, in determining whether they have a right to just say, well, I believe this, therefore I'm not going to serve you. So now it's not just I have this belief, it's informing an action that is causing harm. And how do we know it's going to cause harm? Well, a little test I have is if in this situation, if everyone that couple would have went to believed and was informed to act the same way as that cake designer was, or that baker was, if they did the exact same thing, that would be an oppression upon that couple, because they would not be able to go and be served anywhere if everybody else believed and did the same exact thing. So yeah, it does affect people, what you believe, but more how you then act upon that. So to me, it's more of, I respect your right to hold a belief. And to hold any belief. And for something that's more interesting to street epistemology, I even respect your right to have a belief you have no good reason to believe in. But as soon as then you're going to act on that belief in such a way that it's going to interact with another human being and have the potential to cause harm, that's where we have to say, is your belief rooted in something that makes sense, that's reasonable? Is it measurable? Is it causing harm? There's a lot of things here. There's some beliefs that are silly that they don't cause necessarily a great harm to anybody. But then there's ones like this that do cause a good deal of harm to people. And so there's a lot of metrics we'd have to take. But yeah, I think we should respect everyone's right to hold a belief. But as soon as that starts, we start seeing the fruits of that belief harming people, that's where we have to say, you can believe it. You can't be doing that to other people, though.
Yeah. And again, we're trying to come at this, like you said, from the most objective way possible, trying to find variables we can measure to see what would change people's minds and what wouldn't. And having those kinds of conversations only works on an individual level, because they can be so heady and they can be so personal. And it's hard to implement a policy that accounts for that for all peoples, because there really isn't a one-size-fits-all way of kind of solving that issue. So unless the brilliant minds of our generation will come up with better ways of addressing that from a public perspective, we'll have to see. But for now, it just takes having conversations with people and seeing whether these things are even true in the first place, and whether even these platforms for these people need to exist.
Until the transhumanists can get...
yeah, that's true. Transhumanism will save us. Yeah.
Go ahead, Phil. Sorry.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I think it comes back to, again, respecting someone's belief. As far as Nazism, for instance, I think most of us could all agree, hey, we're not going to respect those beliefs at all. Like, we will, stand against those. And there's a reason for that. We kind of fought a war against that. We've seen what that belief does. And it's one of those things that when we see those things going on, people should be up in arms over that. People should be saying, no, you're not going to do that to the rest of these people. Your beliefs are such that you are basically saying we want to harm other people, and we have justification for it, whether it's God or whether it's some silly belief in supremacy of a certain race. There's all these different things that they are going to cause harm in it. So at the end, again, respecting people's beliefs, the left does it a lot. We've talked about that with the Muslim, respecting their beliefs to the point where, oppression of women is allowed to continue. And we find ourselves aligned with some right-wing people who take then the idea that, Islam is oppressive, but then they take it to another extreme of saying, all Muslims therefore are bad people. And no, not that either. That's not what this is about. And so it's very hard for us to differentiate ourselves when you've got kind of a bipolar or a false dichotomy always going on in people's mind of you're either with us or you're with them.
Yeah.
And that kind of that very simplistic set theory, if you're not part of us, you're part of them. That's a very dangerous belief in and of itself as well.
I agree, Phil. I agree. Well, thanks for calling, Phil. We really appreciate it. I hope that you can catch us on another episode whenever we get this puppy live. Great question.
Awesome.
Thanks for calling in.
Yep.
Cool. Yeah. Very topical stuff. You know, when I think of these conversations, Drew, I think of what we did at the Faithless Forum. And let me tell you why. Because we were a group of atheists, not that many, 70, 80 of us, pretty small.
It was like 85.
Conference-wise, yeah. And we're just all in that one big old room, you know, almost like an underground church. And I'm thinking, oh, God, I hope there's not some crazy person that just comes in here and tries to yell at you or tries to harass us as we're doing this thing, because we just want to kind of create a space for us, you know? And I wonder if that's what some of these groups think whenever they come together, you know, if they're worried that people are going to intercede on their meetings. Now, again, whether or not those meetings should be taking place in the first place is a whole other thing. But I can see where that fear comes from and why people would react the way that they do to those kinds of, you know, accusations. So.
Yeah, we have to have a very solid epistemology because of these things. I mean, knowing the truth has tremendous utility. So we want to make sure that we actually have reliable ways of actually finding the truth. We can test it. We can verify it in multiple ways so that when push comes to shove and we need to figure out if things need to be shut down or who needs to be respected, or if meetings actually need to be infringed upon in certain cases, we need to have really good reasons. Because if we can't differentiate between, you know, basically a Christian's reasoning for shutting down an atheist meeting because it offends the Lord or something like that, versus people coming together and hosting a meeting to talk about how they're going to go out there and actively oppress minorities or harm people, actually be violent or something. We need to figure out exactly where the line is, what the truth is, how to get to the truth reliably so that we can act with the best utility, with the best, most ethical actions possible. Because if we don't actually have the utility of the truth there, then we kind of are left swinging blind, and we're going to end up hitting something we don't want to, or not hitting anything at all.